Go ahead.
Can I just ask for clarification? We've got that in front of us. Did we just add something to it?
We're still in the motion of either move it as presented or add the Lillooet Agricultural Library.
Lillooet Area Library Association, and I mentioned Area I, but this will be posted on our website when we pass it for first referral after today, right? Yeah, okay.
So you wanted to change anything?
So in that case, we could make referrals to, if people wanted to comment, it will be available on the website. And we don't need to add anything then to this particular that.
Correct.
People are more comfortable with that, then I'm okay with that.
Okay. Director Stoner.
I was gonna go the other way and suggest that if we do want even just a formal process to refer it to the TNRD and they can choose whether they want to reply or not. But I think that would be a more appropriate way to go, and just we will outline that it's a minor amendment and they have the opportunity to do so. But I would be happy to include them in the referral list.
You are comfortable with that?
Sorry.
Okay, so the motion is that the bylaw be referred to affected First Nations, the District of Lillooet, provincial agencies and ministries, including the Interior Health Authority, the Agricultural Land Commission, the Ministry of Agricultural and Food, Ministry of Forests, Ministry of Water, Land and Resource Stewardship, Ministry of Transportation and Transit, and School District 74, as well as the Lillooet Regional Invasive Species Society, the Lillooet Agricultural and Food Society, the Lillooet Area Library
Association,
the Lillooet Naturalist Society, and the Thompson-Nicola Regional District comment.
perfect.
Okay. Moved by Director Bergstrom, seconded by Director Stoner. Comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Great. Okay, let's move on. 7.2, a zoning amendment bylaw numbers 1917-2025 and Area C amendments to Ponderosa zone, bed and breakfast use, emergency shelter use, and other minor amendments, including an introduction, public hearing waiver, and referrals. And who is speaking to this? Alex. Ms. Mackay.
So thank you, Alex Mackay, planner with the SLRD. So this is a zoning amendment bylaw for electoral area C. It's a relatively minor text-only amendment to the existing zoning bylaw. It's being presented for consideration of waiver of the public hearing as it is consistent with the electoral area C OCP. And we are also presenting it for consideration of referrals today, as that will allow us to expedite the process moving forward and bring it back for multiple readings at the next board meeting. In terms of what the text amendments pertain to, they are updating definitions and modernizing terms, going through and ensuring that all terms that are defined in the definitions are italicized throughout the document, ensuring there are clear references throughout all of the zones to the applicable general regulations sections. So that would be things like bed and breakfast, where there's specific provisions in the general regulations. We reference that section directly in the zones to make it easier for people to use the document. We've removed all information pertaining to outdated land use contracts, which were dissolved last year in June of 2024. Updated numbering throughout the bylaw to ensure it's consistent. We have replaced the existing Ponderosa Estates zone with a new zone, which is Ponderosa Community. It has really minor changes, but basically that is to ensure that the new zone is consistent with the former land use contract, the spirit of the former land use contract, and that the site plans in there are correct. We have also gone through and added emergency shelter as a permitted use in the majority of the zones in electoral area C and defined that in the definitions. And so that covers basically the highlights, the high points of the changes that we've made. There will be a more comprehensive review and overhaul of the zoning bylaw coming forward, and we'll be doing that later this year, early next year, in conjunction with the electoral area C update project. So I'll just leave it there. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Director Pengel, go ahead.
I was just unsure about the mobile home substitution with manufactured home, because in my mind, mobile home, it's something that's quite literally mobile, maybe in a park where you can kind of plug in quickly, or maybe in your side yard, and there's all, maybe some rules around that. Whereas a manufactured home, unless I'm misunderstanding, might be used in some of those circumstances, but it might be in just a traditional neighborhood, like there's all kinds of different construction technologies happening, and so manufactured home, I'm not sure if that's the thing we want to, if it's the same thing, like it seems like a much broader term that I don't know that we want to apply the same rules that we used to apply to mobile home. Like you can get a prefab home delivered to sort of any neighborhood nowadays, and so is manufactured home the right term?
Okay.
Thank you through the chair. So it's my understanding, based on discussions with our building department and other regional districts, that the current term for a mobile home is manufactured home. And it isn't necessarily a broader term, but it is just the modern term that's utilized for that. I can certainly take a look at that though between now and consideration of subsequent readings and ensure that that is correct.
Okay, yeah, I just wanna make sure we're not, it's something that blocks a sort of a prefab home, which is appropriate for some reason you can't do it, because we consider it has to belong in a trailer park or something.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. Also, just a question of clarity in section 512, the PA1 zone, public assembly and institutional. I think as you read it as proposed, it's considered to still include home-based business, which seemed a little bit odd to me. So I'm just wondering if staff can speak to why we're removing bed and breakfast, but not the home-based business component.
Thank you through the chair. So as we reviewed this, some of those uses used to land in the general regulations and they weren't listed in individual zones. It seemed like adding bed and breakfast use to that zone was made in error in the past. The zone does allow for a single family dwelling, so we've kept home business in there for that reason.
Thanks for that clarity.
Any other questions? Okay, would you like to move? Director Mack moves that the notice of waiver of the public hearing regarding bylaw 1917-2025 be given in accordance with section 467 of the Local Government Act, and that this bylaw be referred to the Squamish Nation, Lillooet Nation, Village of Pemberton, Resort Municipality of Whistler, and provincial agencies, including Vancouver Coastal Health, etc., for comment. Moved by Director Mack, second by Director Rainbow. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 7.3. This is a wildfire protection policy and development permit area update for area A, B, C, and E for first reading. Hi.
Good afternoon, my name is Claire Dewar, I'm a senior planner at the SLRD. I will give a high-level overview of the staff report and then happy to answer any questions that the board may have. So the SLRD received $11,500 in funding from the Community Resilience Investment Program to complete bylaw and policy updates in support of enhanced wildfire protection and mitigation works. And I would like to just share that we are really grateful to have collaborated on this project with Protective Services right from the beginning. From securing this funding, also from the scoping, and then benefiting from review of the bylaws and policy at the sort of this part of the project. So the updates are applicable in the SLRD electoral areas and specifically look at development considerations as related to wildfire hazards. The subject report and bylaws address the wildfire protection policy and the development permit area within the OCPs. And there, I just wanted to note that this also ties into other agenda items, being the SLRD temporary use permit policy updates and a new wildfire landscaping management bylaw. So these are all considered in conjunction with one another to sort of fill, make sure we've thought of all the aspects related to development considerations and wildfire resilience. So specific to these development permit area updates, they are really intended to update the fire or to reflect the updated Fire Smart BC nomenclature changes, as well as a reformatting and updated policy language to add clarity and consistency across the OCP and also support ease of implementation for public and staff. I will also note that there are amendments as part of these OCP amendment bylaws specific to small scale multi-unit housing legislation and that implementation to remove form and character development permit area requirements. So that's just a side piece that we had an opportunity to include that in this work while we have the OCP bylaws open for amendment. And I'll maybe leave it there, and I'm happy to take any questions that the board may have.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions? Go ahead.
Thanks for the report. Is there anything you left out that you thought about including?
Through the chair, specific to the development permit areas. My brief answer would be no. I think we did a good job of making sure that the one of the things that's been really successful and I think is one of the reasons why the wildfire development permit areas have been really well implemented in the SLRD is that not only do they reflect the Fire Smart BC zones and just how that's been really well received province-wide. They also allow for flexibility for property owners in that they have, we require the non-combustible roofing material, but then the rest of the implementation measures are the property owner can decide what's going to work best or what's most important, given the site or the location, the hazards, various considerations, but it's still grounded in the Fire Smart BC sort of overall approach. And in speaking with other jurisdictions, that's one thing, having that flexibility built into the development permit area, I think is unique and also of benefit.
Yeah, knowing the properties on it's the 3 lakes that we have residential properties at the 3 lakes, Marshall, and then Gun Lake. Some of the properties are smaller, so some of the widths are only 100 feet, and you've got a lot of part-time resident property owners, where some of the cleanup hasn't even started taking place yet in the Fire Smart program. And the location of putting a new building is going to be critical. And as we've seen, if they get a QEP, they can put it into part of the riparian zone. And then that gives you a whole nother context of where you can't cut trees down in the riparian zone. And that would come with a QEP. So trying to fire smart in that area on raw land could be difficult. And yeah, so there's one consideration. The piece there of where the building inspector can have exceptions, to me is critical for those 3 areas, definitely. When I look at my property, I know what I have, and mine wouldn't comply. That'll get into the next one that we'll be going into.
Yes, thank you through the chair. I will just to build on that, there is a specific section that reinforces that these zones are implemented to the greatest extent possible.
Yeah.
Because there are limitations at times to how that can look on a property. And to clarify that the riparian protections area regulation supersedes these wildfire protection guidelines. And we have clear policy language. And that's part of the policy updates was ensuring that we have that clear policy language in all 4 of our electoral area development permit areas, because there was some inconsistency in that language.
I just wanna make sure I understand, like, in my mind, though. Our sort of perspective isn't that if you wanna build, you can, at the end of the day, we have to let you build what you want. My sort of understanding is. We are having greater understanding of climate change and so on, and there are things that you just can't do anymore, and so. Just cause you have a narrow property doesn't mean you can build there and ignore the DPAs, the DPAs and so on, and the reality of fire risk, maybe you just can't build there, and so I wanna. Understand what that line is, cause it sort of sounding like maybe I'm not sure what that line is now.
Yes, yeah, and so I will say that the main point staff that are implementing these development permit areas, it's through the building permit process, which is those plans are very complex and detailed, and maybe I'm trying to think of, say there's a specific design aspect that's cantilevered over something that may protrude into the zone in a specific way. Like, this is the type of detail that is worked out at that development permit level. The overall intent is that, well, the base requirement is that we have non-combustible roofing. We know that's one of the most important and impactful ways to build climate and wildfire resilience. And then the other zones, whether the home in that immediate zone, the intermediate zone or the extended zone, sometimes the extended zone can't be implemented because it's 30 meters and the property is not that big. So that's where we say implemented to the greatest extent possible. Yeah, I would say that within the SLRD, property owners are very happy to be implementing this development permit area, and our fee is very, very low. So we see this also as a point of education to ensure that we have the greatest protection as possible.
And Director Birch-Jones, go ahead.
Thanks. Couple of questions. There's a reference in here to having annual fire smart assessments, and I mean, most of us, you'll get a fire smart assessment, and most people won't do 100% of that in the same year. It will usually be work that goes over a few years, at least that's my observation, and so I don't know that we necessarily, maybe to say regular fire smart assessments. But we don't have enough staff to be doing annual fire smart assessments anyway on all the properties that we have. That was one observation. I'm still having trouble with this language about the wildfire protection DPA applies, for example, to all lands within electoral area B. It doesn't apply on the reserves. And I think we're gonna have to sort of start considering some language around that here in the future. Exclusive of Federal Reserve lands or whatever language we want, but it doesn't apply to all lands, at least not within electoral area B. Within the plan area? Well, what it says is applies to all lands within electoral area B, or A, or C, or D. And then one other comment, just we refer to the professional, where is it? Okay. Additional information that may be required in order to consider in consultation with a registered professional biologist, forester, or landscape architect. I wonder if we could add our own fire smart educated staff or the people that we contract to that list. Because they're pretty good resources and they're more at hand than some of these others. And I think that their guidance and advice is equally good in terms of ensuring minimal fuel loading, et cetera, et cetera. So just to consider adding them as a resource and somebody who's more accessible to some of our constituents.
I'll let staff respond to that question about the fire smart consultant.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up that.
I think just Director Birch-Jones, just for clarity, IR land or
Mhm.
reserve land is not considered part of Area B.
No, but we
Like
don't,
the district of Lillooet is also surrounded by Area B. And so it's not, we're not referring to the reserve lands.
okay, but somehow I think we need to sort of start addressing that as. So, because you wouldn't, as a, an average person sort of reading this, I don't think you'd necessarily know. But what we really mean is we don't mean that and we don't mean that.
Well, we don't mean the district of Lillooet.
We certainly don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
And they're distinct and sovereign nations.
indeed,
So
yeah.
I hear your point. I think that, yeah, I think staff can go away with that as feedback.
Thank you.
So, thank you for the comments. I will, respond as best I can at this point in time. So the reference to the Fire Smart BC Wildfire Mitigation Program annual assessments, we could revise that policy to just remove the reference to annual if that is, doesn't feel like it would be, possible to kind of meet that annual assessment, piece. I will also say that this is, policy, it's maybe what we're striving for, it may not actually happen on the ground, so that that's a bit of a balance there. With respect to adding the Fire Smart reference to Fire Smart consultants, I can speak to protective services staff to see what we can add in terms of another resource there. I wanted to go back to that policy specifically because we have had discussions around hazard trees, and those require a certain designation and a certain qualification that are not our Fire Smart experts.
Yeah.
But this particular policy, I don't see a problem adding SLRD, Fire Smart, or SOD, whether it's SOD or they're just Fire Smart.
Contractors, some have.
But I can get the appropriate language there and add that. And then with respect to the plan, the application and area with which the development permit applies, that is a bit of a bigger conversation. As Chair Ford has noted, many of our development permit areas reference this application area, and it's either attached to a specific mapped area or it is the entire electoral area. So the distinction there is sometimes it's just for riparian areas within 30 meters of that stream. The wildfire protection, it applies throughout the electoral area, where the SLRD has jurisdiction is sort of meant to be, that's how that's meant to be read. So if there is a bigger conversation about how our development permit area language reads, that will be something that we would need to be updating across all of our OCPs and probably most of our development permit areas. So I'll look for direction from the board on that.
Well, at some point, we're going to be just with what we're doing in terms of reconciliation, we're gonna be reviewing all of our documents and looking for improving some of that language, right?
I think the idea is that each time something is under review, we incorporate
Try and improve
the
it.
current and highest and best language rather than trying to take 7,000 bylaws and try and update them all at once. We could never do it, but I think that there's I think there's sufficient direction both through all of the work that we're doing around implementing DRIPA into our processes. But keeping it as a part of our board discussion is really important. So thank you for keeping that conversation alive. Do I have any other questions from anyone? Go ahead.
Just a comment, just on the fire smarting part. I think the key word in that is the SLRD encourages.
Okay, So with that, we will see this again 3 more times, so. Let's consider the bylaw, sorry. Bylaws, so we're gonna do these in 4 parts. Am I right? Do you want to do them all at once? Okay,
You can do them all at once.
what?
Yes.
Let's do it.
I'll move that up.
Love that. Director Crompton.
No,
Second
that's
by
me.
Director Rainbow. Comments? This is for first reading and making referrals for comments on all 4, just for clarity. Moved and seconded. No further comments. All in favor. Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. Happy?
Yeah, I am happy. And would you like another resolution that staff incorporate the feedback provided
Sure.
to, or are you good?
I don't think we need it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to 7.4, this is an SLRD wildfire landscaping management bylaw 1925. And that this bylaw be given first, second, and third reading. Questions? I see no questions.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
And give me a second here. Enforcement, where it's got enforcement. Section 7, the director. Is that electoral area director or is that staff director?
Thank you. So through the chair, we do have a definition of director in the bylaw, and it's a person who holds a position of Director of Planning and Development Services for the regional district, or such persons designated by the board to act on their behalf in execution of the bylaw. That would be the definition of director under this bylaw.
Or the area A director.
Well, yeah, and then there's one there. Failing to do so, 8.0, property owner could be fined. Like, I can't approve this one. No,
Which one are you looking at? 8.1?
8.0,
Which section now?
some offenses and penalties.
So you're saying the person who commits an offense against this bylaw fails to maintain existing landscape?
And it does mention higher up that there's gonna be an educational activity rather than an enforcement tool. In the meantime, we got all these offenses. And this is for existing landscaping. Like mine. So if I don't cut a few trees down that are close to my place, I'm gonna get fined.
Yeah,
I
so
think it's one of the tools in a bylaw enforcement that we have to have. And to say that we would use it right away is incorrect.
I think if you wanna do that down the road. Right now, we need to get people even to go get their fire smart assessments. Like, we're a long ways from this yet. Unfortunately, just come up to Gun Lake, I'll tour you around.
Well, let's be
I'm
careful about,
serious.
no, we can't change. How, like, this is under, we've asked for enforcement tools. And we have bylaws so that we can ensure that these guidelines are met. But the tools are only used under the discretion of staff. I do have 2 hands up over here, Director Littleton.
No, I just, I think that, education can be the goal and working towards voluntary compliance, but at the end of the day, having a reason to do that, which is to avoid a fine, makes sense to me. And we do need to rely on our staff's ability to manage that. The opening move is not driving down this, road at Gun Lake and issuing tickets and fines at every opportunity, but it is I do think you need the leverage, otherwise
You need a carrot and
it's a
stick.
public service announcement, not a bylaw, so I think it's important, so.
Go ahead.
Thank you through the chair. We often introduce new bylaws or bylaw amendments that result in existing non-conforming uses. And so I'm just wondering if staff can speak to how this is expected to be handled if the bylaw passes.
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. So the focus of the bylaw is on the installation of new landscaping. There are provisions around the maintenance of existing landscaping. They are lighter than the new landscaping. I think one of the key pieces that would be accompanied, if there was a bylaw in place, I think communications of that bylaw would be really critical, and part of that communications and outreach and education would be focusing in on that juniper, cedar, yew and hedges as being one of the biggest hazards and opportunities to build resilience on properties. Part of we are hearing too is having a bylaw. There is benefit and more opportunity to work with landscaping companies and retailers and nurseries and whatnot. So that's, you know, a little bit speaking to how a bylaw can be helpful. The non-conforming piece, the intent is that there is still an ability for property owners to be maintaining the existing non-conforming landscaping that builds resilience, whether that's keeping the grass cut to a certain level, whether that's pruning the trees. The Fire Smart BC landscaping guide and best practices have a lot of resources around maintenance of existing and what that whether that's tree spacing. So I think there is a lot of opportunity within the existing landscape to increase wildfire resiliency. And so that's why there still is a section here speaking to the maintenance of existing. It's not just on new landscaping. That answers the question.
Well, I just was going to respond and say, I think all of our communities have a lot of work to do to get to a place that, you know, any of us would feel ready for this, and it's, I think, some of the most important work that we're going to do, and so I voting in favor.
Do you have any final comments?
Yeah, I can't support it.
Okay.
To me, education is first. Just think about if you wanted to do something progressive, it will be the fire smart. Say that you must have a fire smart assessment to start with. You know, we just went through one of the property owners that came to me, had trees right around his old cabin. It was in the riparian zone, and Fire Smart wouldn't fund it to take them down. So he's leaving them up.
Well,
So, but yeah, to me,
there's a
that would
responsibility
be
on.
more progressive. Is to do that first. But go straight to $2,000 fine. People read that? So I won't support it.
Okay, Director Stoner.
I'd like to move first, second, and third reading. I'll speak to it as seconded.
Thank you. Seconded by Director Hertford. Go ahead.
I want to thank staff for the work on this bylaw, the previous work and the forthcoming work on the TUP. As a package, I was like reading the first one, I was like, oh, why aren't TUPs included in the DPA? And then I was like, oh, if I just read through the rest of my package, it's all there in one nice bow. And I think that specifically the landscaping management bylaw is an important piece of the puzzle. I hear my colleagues' concerns around what feels like weighty language in the bylaw around enforcement. I am confident that we use an education first approach with our bylaws, and that this is meant to be one additional tool in our toolbox for situations that are very out of compliance in our collective effort across the region to ensure that our communities are as safe from wildfire as possible. And this is just one additional tool it presents options for folks that have existing landscaping as well as new landscaping that is being put on properties, and provides, I think, really solid direction to many of our community members who are looking for that direction. And so this just lays it out. It provides our staff and the board with options. And as we do across the organization with an education and outreach approach first, knowing that we're doing a lot of the wildfire smart work already, I am confident that this will be another level of education forward and stick if needed type of approach.
Any other comments? Call the question on first, second, third reading. All in favor? Is there anybody opposed? Director Demare is opposed. Motion carries. And now this bylaw be cited and be adopted. Moved by Director Herford, seconded by Director Stone. All in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Director Demare is opposed. Motion carries. You.
Gonna make a comment?
Nope. Both motion comments are not part of Robert's rules. You're welcome to send us an email. You could have made a comment during the motion, but a post-motion comment doesn't really fit within the recording. We're now on 7.5, the SLRD sign bylaw, amendment bylaw 1935-2025. Yeah, for questions?
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Go ahead, Director Pettengill, the question.
So sort of the first one's maybe to the board, could we just get rid of election signs? But failing that, the sign size of 1 square meter, I'm wondering why we chose that, because it seems that sign shops have a few different standard sizes, and so I'm wondering why we wouldn't sort of align with maybe a maximum standard size or something as opposed to 1 square meter, or why this approach?
Director Needham?
That would be the space, so they could, make it rectangular or square, however they wanted to utilize that, that space. So this is kind of a typical size for your standard real estate agent's sign.
So I know like a lot of election signs can be 4 by 8, which are quite a bit bigger, and maybe we don't want, and that's the compromise we're taking rather than getting rid of all of them. I'd support getting rid of election signs at least. Yes, it's in the business.
Director Herford, then Director Rainbow. Director Rainbow.
This actually came from a complaint in my area with a real estate sign that is 4 feet by 6 feet. That is mounted so that it's 8 feet above ground. It's huge, and it's right across the road from a lot of people, and they just don't like it. It's ugly, and I agree with them. And so I asked Director Needham what we could do. This is the response. So I fully support it. I'd like to move first, second, and third reading.
That's where this sign bylaw starting.
Good. Do I have a seconder?
Sure.
Seconded by Director Hoffel. Comments? Being no comments, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries, and that this bylaw 1885-2025 be adopted by Director Rainbow, seconded by Director Hoffel. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're now on 8.1 CAO verbal update. I know that we have bypassed all of the breaks that we normally have during the day. But we had a full agenda, and we're at almost 3 o'clock, and we're gonna lose a couple of people at 3. So if you want a 5-minute recess, I'm happy to do that now. Or we carry on until 3:30. We're good? Great. CAO verbal update.
Hi, everyone. Have a Paul CAO SLRD. And just as a request from Chair and the board to bring some updates to the wildfire situation at today's meeting. Wanted to let everyone know that as of yesterday, there are no active wildfires in the SLRD. The closest out of control wildfire, there is one near Abbotsford, and a new one just popped up. This new fire K21041 located south of Cache Creek, west of Highway 1 in the TNRD. It's only 0.1 hectares and it's considered low fire danger. No concerns at this time. And Place Glacier debris reflood, just a quick update on June 18th, a rapid emptying glacial lake on Place Glacier, which is above Birken and Electoral C, caused a debris flood at the valley bottom at Pool Creek Road and Pemberton Portage Road. A summary report is currently being developed by Subject Matters, which will be delivered to the SLRD shortly. And there was a risk assessment, a general assessment done, and as of 2 weeks ago, the evacuation alert that was lifted on the properties once it was determined that the mitigation efforts that had happened last year for the same flood were not significantly damaged. It's good to know that there's currently a low hazard risk for the flood and landslide. And that is everything I have to report on that.
Question?
Yeah, so that Place Glacier, now there was some damage done to the work that was done last year. Has that been replaced, like, or redone? Because some of that creek coming down Place Creek was definitely damaged. Now it's much wider, all that stuff, so is there gonna be mitigation work done now before next year? Because it will happen again.
We're waiting for a report from the consultant from the, and it would probably be both immediate response and then long-term mitigation response, both which are funded differently.
We still have just, and you give such a good report on this at the EAD, CAO Paul, the Isman Creek fire is still burning just down the road from my place, from Area B. Between Area B and Lytton, and it's 249 hectares, but it's under control, but it's still, I'd say pretty close to the SLRD.
I will say this report is coming from staff and they have not noted out of control wildfires. So I can come back and update people on that.
No, she said it's.
No, it is under
It's
control.
in control.
It is 100%.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So my next one would actually just be here. It's not necessary. I just wanted to get everyone every 6 months a bit of a impact on our communications and the positive responses we're getting. We are tracking way outperforming industry benchmarks when it comes to our newsletter achievements, when it comes to outreach, when it comes to click-through, when it comes to opening. We are also increasing a lot by people who are following us and people who are signing up for the newsletter. The emergency content seems to drive a lot of these results. And in the month of June, we had more than 200,000 views and on our Facebook. So it like just represents the efforts that are being invested by this group into broader communications using those tools such as social media. And then the last one is regarding a water quality. You'll have to give me a moment, I'm sorry. My notes are
Chris?
Yeah. I think that was dealt with.
Yeah. So Vancouver Coastal Health has issued a water quality advisory for Flying Crest water estate system. The water source and treatment process has not changed. VCH made this decision as they work to apply consistency across the province. So again, there's been no change. They're just doing consistency on their enforcement and advisories. The advisory means that the risk is low and is in place for individuals with weakened immune systems and those who are pregnant. Staff are working with Vancouver Coastal Health Drinking Water Officer on potential upgrade options and the treatment process, as well as looking at a feasibility study to combine Pinecrest and the Black Tusk Strata water system long-term as an alternate source. Because this would likely hit the news, we wanted to make sure that you were aware of it.
Questions? Seeing none, motion to receive the verbal update, moved by Director Birch Jones, second by Director Crompton, all in favor, any opposed, motion carries. I didn't see your hand, Director Rainbow. Next is 8.2. This is an information report regarding the quarterly development applications report. We have Director Needham here to answer any questions anyone has. This is a standard report that we see 4 times a year. It's great work. Any questions? Director Bridge-Jones, go ahead.
And I thank you for making the font for the electoral areas bigger and grouping them. I really appreciate that. And also just a reminder that the Sea to Sky Highway ends at Pemberton, at least it's certainly not in Area B. So if we're talking about Highway 99 in Area B, just call it Highway 99. And otherwise, motion to receive. Thank you for this report.
Okay, no other questions? Motion to receive, Director Bridge-Jones, seconded by Director Hopful. Comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.3. This is an SLRD temporary use permit policy, wildfire protection and mitigation. These are amendments to be presented and approved by the board. Any questions? Go ahead.
This is another kind of policy that doesn't go to the policy committee.
That's right. Great. Any other questions? Moved by Director Rainbow, seconded by Director Pettingill.
Do you have a comment?
Go ahead.
And I know we're constraining this to wildfire, but when I looked at this, I think there's a discussion to be had on the TUP policy related to SMU, that stuff in terms of probably requires some nuance of remote areas versus close to settled areas in terms of where we expect permanent housing versus temporary housing. And then I think some stuff around some of the impacts we want to look at considering temporary buildings and so on. And so I'd like to flag those things, especially the SMU part. I hope there's actually an opportunity in the near term to address that, but sort of held my tongue because this is wildfire changes.
Any other comments? Go ahead.
I'm just a query to my colleague, the application of SMU to our regional areas, I didn't understand that it applied to us.
Well, in the context of housing and the housing challenges we're having, I think there's some discussion and some thought about refining our TUP policies, is what I'm trying to say. And so we've been doing some work around.
Sorry, in the context of municipalities who are responsible to apply Bill 44, we would do something different in rural areas?
No, it doesn't apply to us, right? I get some
Sorry,
clarity
maybe
on
I'm
it.
getting the legislation mixed up, but we have been doing housing work in regard to some potential changes. So that's what I'm trying to speak to, not just in municipalities, but in the regional district.
I thought it was like, it means
It's
less
nothing
than
to do with
5,000
this
people,
right now.
yeah. Anyway,
The small scale multi-unit housing doesn't apply in Area C, for example.
It applies to parts of the regional
Parts of it,
districts,
but
but with respect to the temporary use permit policy, we don't typically permit permanent structures through a TUP. So I would assume that you're referring to more permanent housing that would be related to the SMU legislation?
Yeah, in my mind, in the context of SMU and all the conversations that are happening there, there's a discussion to be had about how supportive we are about temporary housing or pushing people to build permanent housing instead. And I don't want to have that conversation now, but I think that's an important conversation as I look through the TUP. And so I wanted to flag that. And in my mind, it fits within that context of.
the greater context.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
No,
Did we move this?
I thought I moved it. I don't know.
It's been moved and seconded. We're on comments, so I will call the question. All in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're now looking at a request for decision regarding strategic priorities fund grant of 2025. And we have Brett here to talk to us.
Laura, Director of Environmental Services. This grant application is open until September 12th. Each regional district can submit 3 applications under the capital infrastructure stream and 1 under the capacity building. And the program contributes 100% of eligible costs up to a maximum of $7 million. Just some key notes for the projects. What's required with them is a feasibility study or design report, detailed cost estimates and maps and drawings, and as well as a current board resolution. So staff have put together a list of a couple of projects that we would like to submit for and need board approval.
Thank you through the chair. Appreciate the work that's gone into this and the staff recommendations. I am curious if there was like a list of projects that fell just below the line that were perhaps not presented in this report, but could be made for consideration.
As far as the capital infrastructure stream, we're pretty limited with needing that, like a detailed study. So we didn't have many to choose from there. For the capacity building stream, it would be easier. There could be other options, I think. But
Curious if staff would be willing to share what those may be. I'm just curious of like actually having a robust discussion around where that money might be best suited. I appreciate that was one option. The master planning process was one option that came to the board table fairly recently. I'm just curious if there's other projects that were in stream or perhaps a higher priority that was aligned with strategic priorities for the board.
Through staff discussions, there wasn't something that really popped out that we thought needed higher priority than this one.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess a comment related, the first 2 items made sense to me. The third one, less sure of, and then the fourth one, I know we did have a discussion, but for me, I'm having a challenge with that one for the rationale, and I think a lookout point to sort of see what we're doing there across the water may make more sense than a large grant spend on this project.
In follow-up to that, the master planning process, and sorry if I just wasn't clear on this, is the intention that that be led by the SLRD, or is that work then? Yes. Led by the SLRD, and so then where does that fit within our existing work plan for staff relative to OCP updates and other things that we have in the go?
It would be additional work.
Any other questions? Being none. Someone like to make the. Yeah, the motion that the SLRD board support the submission of grant applications to the 2025 intake of the Strategic Priorities Fund for the following projects. And that the CAO or designate be authorized to sign any applications, documents, and agreements as required by and associated with the above grant applications. We're talking Gold Bridge Water System, Divine Water System, Catalina Creek debris flow mitigation, and master planning. Mover, Director Mack.
Sure, can I do a quick question, sorry, late on being here. I thought it said in the report that we can only have three.
Three capital infrastructure and 1 capacity building.
Thank you. Never mind.
Is that a question, Director Pettengill, or are you seconding it?
I wanted to move to split them, so we could vote on these.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. So it hasn't been moved and seconded, so we'll deal with it. No, it's been moved, it hasn't been seconded. So we'll move each one individually, is that, that's the intention of the director? Sorry?
The first 3, is that what you meant?
I think keep it simple, just do them separate.
Each separate? Okay.
Okay, I'll move the first one.
Okay, moved by Director Mack, seconded by Director Birch Jones. This is on the Gold Bridge Water System. Comments? All in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. On the Divine Water
I'll
System,
move that one.
moved by Director Mack, second by Director Mayor, comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. On the Catalina Creek debris flow mitigation,
That,
moved by Director Mack, second by Director Birch Jones, comments? Go ahead.
I won't be supporting this. I think that additional capital infrastructure costs for this should be covered by the folks within the service area.
Okay. Director Pettengill?
Just saying.
Okay. Thank you. Any further comments? All in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Director Pettengill and Director Stoner are opposed. Motion carries. And that the master planning for Britannia Beach waterfront be applied for. Director Rainbow, seconded by Director Pettengill. Comments?
Well, I was gonna vote against,
That's fine.
and I think again, just briefly with what's going across with the wood fiber and so on, I don't think a master plan for a large development makes sense. I think maybe a park or a point people can see and get exposed to what's happening makes more sense than a large spend.
Yep.
Point of clarification,
Yeah.
my understanding, this is about a park, not about any.
This is not a big
This is not a development, this is about master planning for a public amenities at that waterfront,
Park space.
park space.
This was the letter that we received at the last meeting from the community asking for capacity building to do a feasibility study on whether this park space should be protected as park space.
Yeah, my understanding is there's something broader, so maybe, okay,
You can vote against it.
okay. It's good clarification.
Yeah. And I think it's good for the record to state that this came from a letter from the last meeting.
Just a question on
Sure.
this one,
Uh-huh.
if I could. This is just a feasibility study. Correct? Is that what we're asking for the funding?
Yeah.
What are we looking at for cost?
That's what we don't know. That's what we don't know.
Applying for.
Oh, we don't know, okay.
I didn't give it, we got an estimate for the feasibility study, right?
Yeah, what was the allocation in?
I don't,
Think the ballpark was around $25,000. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Director Herford?
I think I'm gonna support this one, but I have a hard time viewing this in our priorities. If there were some questions around this originally, I feel like we have a higher priority pieces. I get the thing that we can get funded might move it up the list, so on those grounds, I'll support this, but broadly, I'm having a bit of a challenge with this particular one for that reason. I feel like we have a long list of initiatives, master planning, general fuel on our list. But I'll support this at this point, but I think in future reports, I'd like to understand where a little bit deeper rationale into the project, because something we discussed at last meeting coming here. That's great that we're moving quickly, but that also is not how things generally move through the system, and it feels like it's standing on top of things that have been there for a long time. But I also don't have a suggestion as to what to swap out, so let's pursue some funds. But I would appreciate some more rationale going forward with recommendations like this.
Is there a time, what is the timeline? The time, like when do they have to be?
September 12th. We don't have a meeting between now and then.
Pardon me?
Special meeting.
We could have a special meeting?
We had.
Oh, yeah, we have one.
We already have one booked,
Yeah,
August 5th.
so we could handle it at that time.
Just,
Sorry, can I let one person finish?
I'm inclined to, I was going to vote in favor, but I think I'm gonna vote against. I think that a letter becomes a
Would be it.
a grant application sort of directs work in the future. And that seems strange when we've got such a challenge with existing capacity. I guess I'd be interested in hearing from staff. If this is approved, is it your view that then this project
Again,
You know what? It's a very small project, right? This is a planning process. Money goes to it. It's planned. Is there a lot of work that staff is doing on it? And do you perceive this as jumping the line?
So. You move this, Tony?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did anybody second it?
Which one's that?
Cause I'll second it.
That's fine. It's been seconded.
Okay, it has been?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess that's my
So, yeah.
through staff to staff.
Yeah.
Does this direct work?
Heather?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It does, and it's a good point about looking at really stressing about what is capacity building for what we have on our fuel. This was brought to the senior leaders and there was nothing else that was listed as something. I think it'd be worth going back and stressing that again and seeing if this is disrupting the current work plan. I would say it is a $25,000 project that will be a feasibility study that would be years in the future of work. And if we have the opportunity to get that done now, it's also a good opportunity. It is minimal. The big work would be if we move forward with it.
Yeah. And as I recall, the letter indicated that this would be very much shared project with the community. It's not our staff doing facility work.
We don't have to do anything up
We don't have
beyond
to do
this.
Exactly.
We are able as a local government to apply for this grant.
Yeah.
For a feasibility study.
Yeah.
The feasibility study, when done, would be useful to the community.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. If the project went ahead, removing all those creosote pilings, rehabilitating that building, taking the land that's,
Making it bat friendly.
creating a park area there and some parking availability. It's multi-jurisdictional. It'll take years to do. All this is doing is just sort of judging the feasibility of it. That's the key word. And I think we should go ahead with it, get the study done, and then we can have debates about who does what and when they do it.
Yeah. And Director Stoner, final comment.
I don't disagree that there is potentially huge value here. The description includes a conceptual master plan with public consultation, including both First Nations, Britannia Beach residents, I suspect the broader corridor. That is a substantive amount of work. And so what my request would be, if the rest of the board is willing, is that staff come back to the August 5th meeting, which we already have on the books, in consideration of the scope of work that is being presented. If this goes forward, or what other options could be put forward for the capacity building stream of this funding. But there's already a motion on the floor, so that I won't be supporting the motion on the floor, and that would be my alternative.
Okay. It has been moved and seconded. We've heard from almost everybody. Is there anybody that wants to add something new to this discussion?
I just want to say that this was on our list prior to that letter last month, so it was like, it's not directing.
Okay. I'll go to Director Birch Jones.
So you're saying this was part of our overall strategic plan already? This is a priority for us somehow?
It was part of our grant review of projects prior to that letter.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I have Heather, go ahead.
And clarify that it was triggered by a meeting that
Yeah.
Chair Ford and Director Needham attended
Right.
a couple of months ago.
In May. Yeah. Among other things. So I'm gonna call the question on whether or not we apply for this grant now. All in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Okay, so I have 3 opposed, motion carries. Not everybody put their hands up, but you are considered in favor if you did not include an opposed motion. Therefore, the application will go ahead and we will hear when it's rented. Thank you. So in consideration of the time, it is 3:20. I am losing the plot.
Your question never got answered.
And we do have tomorrow. I think I will ask that we recess today's meeting. And we will reconvene tomorrow morning at 9 AM in committee of the whole, and then we'll reconvene this open meeting after that. Therefore, the meeting is now 3:10.